This is the Concord Municipal Affordable Housing Trust. It's Tuesday, May 9th, 2023, and it is 5:01 p.m. And our first order of business is a roll call of members present. Linda Escobedo.
Present.
Mike Lawson.
Present.
Rich Feely.
Present.
Carrie LaFleur.
Present.
And Keith Bergman. Present. All right. We are all here. Also with us, we have Concord Director of Planning and Land Management, Marcia Rasmussen, and Regional Housing Services Office Director, Liz Rust, and from the Planning Board, Linda Miller. So welcome all. Next item is approval of minutes. We have two sets, and I'll take them separately because the March 8th minutes is first. Those present at that meeting were Rich, Linda, and Keith. So, and I had distributed those March 8th minutes maybe a month or a month and a half ago. We didn't have three members who could vote on it at our meeting on April 18th, so we held it over. So I wonder if there's a motion from either Rich or Linda to approve those March 8th minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Rich, second by Linda. Any discussion? All right, so roll call. Vote. I'll call all five and you can recuse as necessary. Linda?
Aye.
Mike?
Abstain.
Rich?
Aye.
Carrie is recusal, and Keith votes in favor. So that passes by a vote of 3 in favor, none opposed, 2 abstentions. Next is a motion on the April 18th minutes. There we had Mike, Rich, Carrie, and Keith. And so and you've had those not as long as a month and a half. I got them done over the weekend. So hopefully you've had a chance to look at those. I wonder if there's a motion to approve. Motion by Mike. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Rich. Any discussion?
Yes, I have a question, Keith,
Sure.
if I may. I was not at that meeting, and as I read the minutes, I saw that the trust decided to eliminate from the slide that was presented at town meeting the original allocation, grant allocation that had been given to CHA. And I guess my only question there, as I read the minutes, was I assume that was followed up with some communication with CHA
Well, they were sitting with us.
at that meeting.
Yeah, we had Stephanie and Stefan at that meeting, and invited and had a robust discussion. And welcome. I see Stefan on the phone on the call now. Welcome.
So that's fine.
It was with their assent and understanding, and asked them if they were okay with that.
Yeah.
So we took it off.
And I guess, so then I guess the question would be to Stefan, did that then formally get somehow on the agenda for CHA?
Excuse me, I'm sorry, I didn't catch what was the subject under discussion here?
This had to do with the property, the Housing Authority property on Main Street in West Concord, which the trust voted essentially to unapprove and took off our current list of approved projects. And
1031 Main Street? The one where we wanted to build a little one single person handicap unit on the, as
Yeah.
a. Okay,
We did it without prejudice, the idea being if you can sort out the access, we certainly would entertain a request, but at this point, we thought it was better to actually take it off than look like we disapproved it.
okay, I recall that discussion now. Now that you phrase it that way, Rich, thank you. I remember it. Yes, that was
So-
true.
So my only question on that then is, did that somehow formally get back on CHA's agenda? Just so, I'm just trying to complete the loop here, so that we have it all, a paper trail going forward.
Yeah, well, I copied all the chairs the next day of all of the votes that our board had taken on April 18th. So and including the CHA chair. So there's a paper trail back to them, and I don't have any control over what they put on their agenda.
For what it's worth, at this point on our agenda, we have development updates, but we don't list that properties separately on our monthly agenda. So if something happens, it'll be discussed. If nothing happens, it won't be discussed, but we are aware of where it stands.
All right, I've done my best to bring this to everyone's attention, so thank you for that.
Thanks for the question. And we actually, Stefan wondered if we wanted to put it on our list and put a strike through it, as we had done with Christopher Heights. And actually, in deference to the fact that if it's not completely dead, like the parrot, we don't put a strike through it. So you can come back if you're ready. So thanks for
Merely
that.
resting.
It's resting. Okay. Any other questions about those minutes? All right, so let's on the motion to approve, we'll do a roll call. Linda abstain.
Yeah, I abstain, I think,
Okay.
thank you.
Thanks. Mike,
Aye.
Rich,
Aye.
Keith. Carrie.
Aye.
And Keith, aye. So that passes by a vote of 4 in favor, none opposed, and 1 abstention. Thank you all very much. Next, annual election of officers. And I put this on the agenda specifically because we've all been reappointed. Our terms all expired April 30, 2023. So we're the new board. And 3 of us have 2-year terms, 2 of us have 1-year terms. So we're also staggered. And so thanks to the select board for taking those actions. But now that we're reconstituted, I look at the trust bylaw, which in section 4 provides that the trustees shall elect officers annually consisting of a chair, vice chair, and clerk. So I thought it would be appropriate for this meeting to invite a discussion about how we'd like to fill those positions for the coming year. And maybe one question to ask would be whether any or all of the current officers are willing to continue to serve in their respective roles. And maybe we'll start with Linda and Mike.
Certainly.
And I certainly am.
Okay. Well, I am too, and would be happy to do so. I'd be glad if someone would like to serve in one of those capacities. That's fine too, and we can discuss it. But if it's the member's pleasure, perhaps we would want to just offer a motion that the trust re-elect the current officers for another year.
Heath, I'm totally comfortable with that, but you seem to be acting as secretary as well, and that's great, because I don't think anybody's dying to write minutes, but I just, you know, the fact that you're keeping them doesn't mean that somebody else is secretary, right?
That's right. And in fact, I can show you this. This is our minutes. This is the first draft of history right here. It's the minutes where I'm filling in what our votes are and who's voting which way on all the matters that are coming up. So so it usually it takes me more time to prepare the outline and the script going into a meeting than it does the minutes after. So I'm happy to. Helps me get organized to run a meeting, to do it that way. And
It's a very skillful way of being able to generate good minutes.
Yes.
So
Do
With
we
only
need to
one,
do-
I would say I very much appreciate that approach, Keith, with one caveat that I have noticed, and I say this partly tongue in cheek, but not totally, that we sometimes forget to include the female actors in the process in our minutes.
well, I will look to
And I offer that in the spirit of inclusiveness.
yes, absolutely. We will look to make sure that there are more variable use of pronouns and all and proper names and all that goes with that. So thank you.
Ready for a motion?
Yeah, yes,
I move that we re-elect Keith Bergman, Chair, Linda Escobedo, Vice Chair, and Mike Lawson, Clerk, for another one-year term.
Second,
motion by Mike, second by Rich. Is there discussion? All right, let's take a roll call vote on that motion. Linda?
you're muted, Linda.
Sorry, and thank you, everyone, for stepping up again.
Thanks, Linda, and you too. Mike?
Aye.
Rich?
Aye.
Harry?
Aye.
And Keith, aye. So that passes by 5-0. But before leaving this, I wanted to just follow up an issue that had come up, or a suggestion rather, that had come up at the housing roundtable. And while it's not on the agenda, I don't think we should vote on it, but there was the suggestion made that the trust might want to consider designating liaisons to other boards with which we deal as a way of sorting to cover it, planning board being one of them. And I'm not volunteering, but rather I'm hoping that I know that one of our members, Linda Escobedo, already has a full plate. She's already attending a lot of meetings because of select board.
And I have been the liaison to the planning board.
Yeah, so that's a good way to get that covered. What we might want to, perhaps what we might want to do in future, if we do make formal liaison appointments or not, or even if we don't, maybe just to have an agenda item to hear updates from other boards. So whether it's from someone who, like Linda Escobedo, who's covering a planning board meeting, or if any of our other regulars, Linda Miller, Stephen Bader, whoever the finance committee might send this year, to maybe just give them an opportunity for updates from other boards, just to stay in the loop. We don't have to solve that issue today, but I just wanted to put it out there for discussion if anyone had any thoughts. So, all right, well, we can think about that, and I may put it on a future agenda. Okay, next item is a debrief on the 2023 annual town meeting articles pertaining to affordable housing. And first off, I'm delighted that all of the financial articles requesting funding for affordable housing were approved by the town meeting. So thanks so much again to our voters for their financial support. In Article 28 and 29, a total of $2,044,000 and change will be transferred to the trust. Part of that will come to us once we've executed a grant agreement with the CPC for their funds in Article 28. And I guess I'd ask Kerry if the $1 million that was transferred in Article 29, is that technically already in our fund once town meeting closes, or what would be the effective date of those monies?
It is technically in your fund. I'm not sure that the transfer has been made on our, but it's available.
Okay, very good. It's not burning a hole in our pocket, or hopefully not. But thanks for that confirmation. And congratulations to the CHDC for the additional $500,000 that was approved in the Community Preservation Committee's article. And that's for the Assabet River Bluff project that we'll talk about a little later on. And congrats to all of us for the $33,000 for the Regional Housing Services funding for the coming year. And thanks to Liz for all the support that our housing groups get from her office. Any other feedback on town meeting? I want to go next to just a quick update on the grant agreement with the
Keith,
CPC.
I do have one other thing. Sorry to interrupt. Carrie did a great job with the budget presentation, and I noted that in her included in her comments was comment to the entire town meeting that affordable housing would continue to be an issue going forward. So that was recognized. So thank you, Carrie.
Thank you for that, Carrie. All right, very good. Also under this item, town meeting, I wanted to mention that the Community Preservation Committee will be discussing the form of our grant agreement for the Article 28 funds at their next meeting on Tuesday, May 16th at 7 o'clock. And they've reached out and invited me to attend. It's a public meeting. Anyone interested can attend. We had at our last meeting, we specifically discussed that, or I was tasked to meet with CPC chair, the two chairs to meet together, and report back rather than schedule a joint meeting between our two boards. So I'm happy to report back. We had forwarded to the CPC some comments on the form of the agreement so that it would simply reflect, well, it could include all the boilerplate that they use in their standard agreements, but that as far as what is the money for, it's for the purposes that were defined in Article 28, which is just basically for affordable housing purposes. And we, I think, had expressed the whereas the template that was provided by the Community Preservation Coalition to CPCs as a guide, the template for that grant agreement and frankly envisions a particular project, which our town meeting vote didn't. But I think we'd be happy if they wanted to have a general reference to the housing production plan, you know, what's the money going to be used for, or maybe put something in the whereas clause, whereas a housing production plan has been adopted to specifically reference it. So I'll be happy to report back on that. Also under, let's see where we are, page 2, still on page 2. All right, so the next, any questions at all? Any more feedback about town meeting? Okay. Next is let me just see where I mentioned it. Okay, next is update on town staff support for updating our guidelines and funding application forms. And during our discussion on April 18th about what the status of town staff support for the trust might be for this coming year, Kerry suggested that we put it on, that we bring it up at this meeting. So I just thought I'd check in and see if there's any further word to share.
Yeah,
Thanks.
thanks, Keith. So I have talked to Megan Zamuto, our deputy town manager, a couple of times. She is sort of spearheading our efforts with the transition with Marcia's retirement and planning and land management. She actually had a meeting today that I didn't hear the results of. And so, you know, we definitely are going to provide some support. I don't know exactly where it is going to come from. And Keith, I wonder, you had asked probably several weeks ago now about setting up an offline meeting. And I wonder if we might be able to do that next week or the beginning of the following week to get a little bit of a better understanding of what you think the volume.
Sure. Yeah, I think in the short term, it's to get it's to make sure that the trust is ready for when we have major grant applications.
Yeah.
And you know, what are the forms that we're using? Some of us are very envious of the CPC. They seem to have a form for everything, and a procedure that's down, and staff support to help them go through it. And my thought that was by the time we're getting requests for the $3 million that we now have, that we want to make sure our forms are up to snuff. And that's I think that's my biggest fear, that if we didn't have that.
Yeah. So again, I'm making a commitment that we will provide support. The town manager's office supports 15 boards and committees in addition to the select board. And we're just trying to figure out the best way to sort of divvy that up and make sure that, you know, we're using our resources efficiently. So I think an offline conversation would be helpful.
Okay, yeah, I'll be happy to do that. Any feedback from our members on this topic of staff support? Okay. All right, so yeah, I'd be happy to have an offline comment. I'm on Nantucket through Memorial Day weekend, but I'm available on Zoom and by phone between now and then. And I'm back in town just for a day or two at the end of May, and then we'll And then we'll be back probably for most of June. So be happy to do it by phone and Zoom in the short term and have an in-person meeting if necessary. And before I left for Nantucket, I made sure I got sworn in at the town clerk's office. So, all right. Okay, well, thank you. Thanks, Carrie, for that. I appreciate it very much. Next is updates on implementing the housing production plan strategies. And there are a number of things that we can take up under here. I'd like to take up two of them for discussion, or three, actually. One is just first an update on the Concord Housing Roundtable, where we want to talk about MBTA community zoning. That's one. Another is Assabet River Bluff, where we have a reimbursement request from CHDC that we can act on. And third will be an update on proposed legislation for the trust and what LOHA is up to. So, and I don't know if there are any other updates on any other projects that we could discuss, but why don't we start with those three? And the first one is the Concord Housing Roundtable, which we're now looking at Wednesday, June 7th at 7 p.m. on Zoom, just virtual, for a briefing on MBTA communities zoning with the consultant from CHAPA, the Citizens Housing and Planning Association, Lily Linky, who is CHAPA's MBTA Communities Engagement Manager, who's doing work for the town on planning department planning board, I guess. And just as a reminder, back on April 12th at our last roundtable meeting, we had a show of hands of our participants committing to attend meetings to support MBTA community zoning when the planning board or others have those meetings. So we're happy to become a constituency for that. Liz.
Yeah, thank you. So I think so I had some conversations with Elizabeth Hughes and through her, Lily, to talk about aside from just doing a general update and kind of overall briefing, there'll be other opportunities, and there's going to be broader meetings for Concord boards and select board on this topic. So this isn't at all the end all for that. But a lot of the focus here was to exactly as you talked about, was how to get the housing community engaged to assist the planning board in this important effort. I think your idea of liaisons is really a good one, and I was going to suggest
I thought
that.
it was your idea, Liz. Actually.
What's that?
It was your idea.
Oh, there you go. So I think it's a great idea, especially for this purpose.
Yeah.
I'm going to suggest that every housing group have a liaison to the planning board for this purpose. And this really comes from some lessons learned from Lexington, or what was their strategy? And community support is really important. And we've seen it, how important it is when it's not really there, right? The people who are going to vote against it are organized. So just making sure that there's, even, Facebook pages and this and that aren't always just the towns, right? That the League of Women Voters or the DEI Commission and all the housing groups need to sort of, help the planning board, all this. I think that the community support is very big, needed very big for this particular project, and is can't be rested on the planning board and the planning staff to carry that load and be successful, or count on it being successful.
Thanks, Liz. Marcia has her hand up.
Just the June 7th is about the public outreach piece. I just wanted to bring the group up to date that we're meeting this Thursday with the consultant from that we've been able to engage through the Mass Housing Partnership, and that's Horsley and Witten, and they'll be doing a walkabout both in West Concord and around the Thorough Depot area, then coming back to the office to meet with our GIS team to talk about the various layers of geographic information systems that would be available to them. As well, I believe that scheduled for the May 22nd Select Board meeting, we'll be presenting an update memo on where we are with the whole schedule. So we'll also be talking about both the technical piece with the zoning as well as the outreach component. So those are two dates to be aware of.
That's great. Very good. Appreciate that. And Rich, you have your hand up.
Well, Marcia just answered my first question, which is there a schedule for developing this? But it sounds like there will be. My other point, it can't be resolved here. I think it isn't just the housing groups. I think we have to look to the conservation and environmental groups in town and ask them to help us. I have it on my list to try and do. I mean, and I think there's some sympathy there, in addition to the fact that obviously if you have affordable housing, you have less traffic with people driving back and forth. But, you know, the two are not incompatible, and we've saved much of what we really wanted to save. So I'm gonna pitch the idea at a conservation group of saying, guys, if there's some piece of this land that you think is particularly environmentally sensitive, talk about with the planning board, but please support us on the general concept. And, you know, I'm willing to rant on about that, but I hope others will too.
Thanks, Rich. Other comments about that? Linda or Mike, perhaps, any?
When I was on the select board, being a little bit off pointer, but the liaison idea, again, I think is something we should pursue fairly aggressively. It really helps to keep people informed and up to date, not only on what they're doing, but on what we're doing.
Very good. Thank you. Linda Escobedo, any?
Yeah, I guess the only other comment I would make is that depending on how the community is approached, I think another group that we should bring on board has to do with the economic vitality and meeting some of the needs of the businesses. And some of that will be project specific, I would guess, in terms of their willingness to come on board.
Very good. Thank you.
I just note that I'm a member of that committee, so we've got a built-in liaison.
We'll designate you as the liaison.
Thank you.
Okay, very good.
Very good.
That's great. Thank you. And I'm wondering if there is there a scope of work, or is there some sort of, you know, 1 or 2 page summary of what the work is for public outreach and the technical support from, I guess from, is it from CHAPA and MHP? Is that there are 2 organizations providing, just so we know, and not just for our board, but for the other.
I think there will be on June 7th and maybe in advance of that, but right now we've just had some preliminary meetings with our comparable cohort communities to talk about the different actions that have been taken by different communities. So we really haven't put together a game plan for Concord yet, but we're going to talk about what those outreach components might look like.
Great, that sounds great. Thank you. Any other comments? Linda Miller, this is all for you. This is all for you. So any comments?
So I guess my comment would be just to thank everyone, and I do think that the liaison is a very good idea. And we do have a planning board meeting after this. So I will try and, I guess, send to you, Keith, maybe a little summary of that as it might relate to affordable housing. I don't think there's that much on the meeting that would be related tonight. But maybe if we can figure out a way to also sort of exchange what has happened in meetings with a couple of bullet points, that might make things easier. I don't know if you've been doing that or not, but I'll try
Yeah,
to
not
participate to the
routinely, yeah, not
extent.
routinely, but I did make an effort after our last meeting, because I knew that it was going to be a while before I could get the minutes out, that I did send out bullet points of what we did to all the committee chairs, and maybe more to the point, it's like, well, who's the group of liaisons that should be
Mhm.
copied as well? And I want to pay attention to, I know that as I mentioned earlier, Finance Committee will have somebody new for us, and we want to stay in touch with all of the folks that are like yourself, Linda, that are covering our meetings and are being a connection. So
Okay, well, so
Great.
maybe if we can come up with a list of, because I think that being able to communicate quickly across everybody when things are happening, it would be nice to have in sort of in our armamentarium, so we can just be responsive and fast and all be on the same page without waiting for our next meeting to get our next update from our liaison.
right.
So that's
yeah, and
great.
that sounds great. And I think also it might be I know sometimes there's new late breaking news comes up, and someone might make mention at a meeting. I mean, even we can't, for our meeting today, we don't have the listed everything that might come up. I did specifically put on MBTA community zoning because I wanted to have a discussion about it. But if there's I think it'd be helpful if every time the project might come up at a planning board meeting, if it could be on the agenda somewhere as a flag to us that it's worth staying up till 9:30 or whatever on right in the
Can't
middle of,
promise that it's worth
right,
it.
yeah, right in the middle of the, hey, it's FBI Tuesday, so it's a tough night.
So I had oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I had a further thought on the liaison idea was that maybe through the fall, I mean, I think the fall and sort of January, like the sort of the October to February timeframe, that's going to be really the critical period there. That maybe that the liaisons would meet with maybe a member of the planning board or town staff on a monthly basis just on this. So it's not really having to go to each of the various committees, but maybe there is a community group made up of liaison and maybe some other people who are helping to provide that support, and maybe they would meet sort of as a group.
That sounds to me like an excellent suggestion, and to consider. That I thought it was helpful. I guess I'd make the suggestion, just as the steering committee for the housing production plan update posted the meeting.
Mhm.
If we were going to do something like that, I think we ought to consider the danger of not posting it, since we're, a lot of people have, a lot of eyes are on this, and I think that we want to. I think it's important to have a way for the information to get out for all concerned, and if there can be a group of liaisons that's helping the project team do its work for the planning board, I'm sure we'll be happy to do that. And if we could explore that back with the planning board, that would be you know, I think I think it's a great idea. So thank you.
Requires some thought. Thank you.
Yeah. Let's see. So next, what I would like to do is to give the floor to Liz to walk us through a request we got today, but happy to get it from Concord Housing Development Corporation for further reimbursement of the Assabet River Bluff project. And I'd say as soon as I got it, I checked my notes and the numbers in Liz's memo matched our minutes to the penny of how much money from the original $50,000 for expenses, how much was left over. And so please, and it's accurately reported in the memo we got from Lee Smith. So Liz, if you wanted to walk us through that, that would be great.
Sure. The expenses, well, the intention was to do the whole remaining amount. But there won't be any additional invoices prior to the end of the fiscal year. So I wanted to get the paperwork all done and the money's paid off. So it's in the CHDC fiscal year reports, because that's going to be easier to get the reimbursements in. So it leaves, I think, about $2,400 and change in that $50,000. So that'll be picked up in September or in the summer, excuse me. The expenses split between 406 Old Marlborough Road. There was a new roof put on there, the carpet, plumbing defects that were fixed, as well as some of the permitting expenses for the Assabet River homes. So they split, and I think that going forward, it's going to be really the permitting expenses coming up. So that the site engineer plus the CHGC is just contracted with an architect to do the conceptual drawings that are required for the permit, and also talking to a landscape architect to do those drawings that are also, or those plans that are also required for the permit. So the hope is to be able to get all that contracted and done and submitted, or, put the permit in for June. That's the hope.
Very good. Thank you. Rich, you have your hand up?
Yeah, Liz, the foundation gave $100,000. 50 was in the purchase. The general plan was to give you that money so you didn't have to wait.
Yeah.
I'm assuming that is expended by now. We didn't.
No,
have
it's coming up. So as soon as this 2,400, it'll finish the permitting. Let me just say it that way.
finished permitting. Okay.
Yeah.
Because I just wanted to report back to the foundation.
Yep. Yep.
Okay. Maybe if you could just give us a letter at the appropriate time. We don't accounts quite like provided with the trust.
Sure. Yeah.
What it's been used for. Thanks.
Very good. Thanks for that question and answer. Anything else about anything else you want to tell us about Assabet River Bluff?
I mean, the basic idea is to do the permit, get the permit done, convey the 406 Old Marlborough Road off to the Housing Authority and let them, proceed with that and lease that up and get those 2 units on the SHI. Do the site work with the $500,000 that was, the CPC funds. So clear and get the driveway done, bring in the utilities, to a stub level. They stub utilities, like whatever. So get those all sort of organized, or so planned out, and do that work so that when it's time for the developer, it's really just the construction funds. And then go out for the RFP for that.
Very good. Thanks. Thanks very much. Okay, I would invite a motion from the trust to approve CHDC's request for reimbursement of Assabet River Bluff expenses totaling $14,469.97.
So moved.
Motion by Rich. there a second?
Second,
Okay, second by Linda, thank you. Further discussion? Okay, so let's do a roll call vote on that motion. Linda,
aye.
Mike,
Aye.
Rich,
Aye.
Terry,
Aye.
and Keith, aye. So that is approved by unanimous vote. In keeping with our practice, the chair will send a copy of this vote to the CHDC and the town manager so the payment can be processed. And this leaves an unallocated balance of $2,564.98. All right. Well, thank you all. And thanks, Liz, for the timely request. Next, I want to go to proposed legislation to fund the trust and see if Rich might have any update. I know we've got a specific date now for LOHA's event at the State House.
Okay, yeah, June 6th at noon. I copied everybody I could think of, certainly this board, the select board. I even had a nice note from Henry Dane suggesting how some procedural changes might make it more acceptable to the real estate bar. So at least some people are reading it. Unfortunately, I'll be out of the country. I'm going to try and mobilize some people from the foundation. I hope other housing advocates will be there. And I actually want suggestions from the trust board as to what else we might do to play this up. The one thing that's relevant to us that will probably happen, we have filmed a short piece with Lise Holdorf, who, as you know, lives in housing that was updated with Concord Affordable Housing Funds. We're editing it now. I think it's quite a convincing statement about how entrepreneurs can't start businesses like local farms without support for housing. I've been talking to the steering committee. It's tentatively penciled in as a video presentation. Lise can't take a day off to go to Boston because it's strawberry season, but hopefully Concord will be heard from in the testimony, as obviously will the Cape and Islands and some of the inner city folks as well. So yeah, I guess to conclude, 90%, it may be that just showing up is less than 90% of life, but it's substantial. And I'm just hoping that others will be able to go, and we'll work at the foundation on getting some of our members to go.
Very good. Thanks for that update. And if as any reminder or indication, the Boston Globe continues to show pictures of all the Nantucketers and folks from Martha's Vineyard who showed up for their rally, for their similar or home rule petitions a month or so ago. And there was quite the page one story, right-hand side above the fold in yesterday's Boston Globe about the proposal, how proposals for transfer taxes for are picking up steam, and so it was really, I don't think I saw Concord mentioned by name, but we were, if you followed the links, you would see our name there. But it was really quite a great pitch. So I think it'd be great if we get a lot of people there and from and hopefully all the communities that have home rule petitions. And I'm going to be able to be there and look forward to that. You know, is there a rally in front of the State House? Is it in the Hall of Flags or something? Or
It's in, the room numbers in my email, which everybody should have. I think it's
Yeah.
46 or something like that. I mean, I guess there's nothing to prevent people.
That's the Senate's, yeah, the Senate's fancy room up on the 4th floor there. So that's good too. Great. And I think that would also be, it would be helpful maybe if there's a strategy meeting for getting turnout. And if there's an interested group, maybe we could all get on a Zoom call to discuss that to make sure we've got representation. I think it'd be great if select board members could be there to support it along with the rest of us. But it's a great opportunity, and who knows, maybe this will be the year that something gets passed.
Well, what I can do, Keith, I'm going to figure out at tomorrow's meeting who of our members can go, and I will copy everybody that was on my original memo with contacts for them, and then ask, in terms of carpooling or sharing or whatever, people will get in touch. If anybody can think of somebody I should reach out to that wasn't on that email, let me know. But I got the select board and at least 2 members of the CHDC, Liz, and the members of this committee. So anyhow.
Maybe we could all take commuter rail and then march from North Station to the
Sure.
Beacon Hill. I'd do it. Rain or shine. So very good. All right. Well, thanks so much. That's an exciting opportunity that we'd look forward to. Are there any other updates on any housing production plan strategies? And anything new on Junction Village that you want to share, Liz? I know that there was the public forum, and the CHDC will be meeting tomorrow, I think, I'll bet, to talk about their next steps. So, okay. And that's at 8 a.m. I always have to remind myself of that, but I've got it in my calendar, and we'll be, I may not want to turn on the video at that hour, but we look forward to that meeting.
It's kind of too bad that there weren't more people at the public meeting. But I thought it was interesting that the support there was actually more for family housing or mixed housing than it was for assisted living. And there were actually a couple of people I hadn't seen before that were pretty supportive.
Yep, I think there's opportunity once proposals come in also for additional feedback. Sometimes, at this level, there continue to be concerns about the access. So while we hear about family housing being important, we also hear that that Winthrop Street isn't the appropriate access for the family housing. And that's the access that there is to the parcel. So we have to reconcile that.
How do people reconcile that with the fact that there's an enormous industrial facility and a fairly good sized little office building, both of which can only be accessed by Winthrop Street?
I think it's the volume of cars, so yeah. So some of it comes down to the density and seeing what's
because it's not really a dead end street.
Yeah.
There's quite a bit going on at the end of it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So the density plays into the traffic, and then the density, of course, plays into the subsidy.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
If it were easy, we would have done it 12 years ago, right?
Exactly.
So, all right. Okay, so thanks. Any other comments on implementing strategies? I guess I just want to ask, we had 91B Main Street on our calendar, or on our radar screen before, and there's Marcia on our video screen now. I'm just wondering if there might be any updates to share about that.
Yes, we have engaged an appraiser who is looking at the property, and we expect that appraisal by the end of the month. So that is proceeding, albeit slowly, but it is proceeding. And then once we have an appraisal, we'll go back to the state and negotiate a price and see where we end up.
Very good. All right. Well, thank you. Thanks for that update. And
Stefan, I see dropped off, but he brought this to my attention. There is a home for sale by owner, essentially across from 930 Main Street. And he had, I think, knew of or had talked to the owner who, you know, sort of cares a lot about Concord. But he said, and Marcia, I don't know if you know this is true, that the state owns some empty land on that side of Main Street, opposite the land that we've been talking about.
Right. It's a U-shaped piece of land that surrounds what is the it's a fill station for Concord Oil. So I haven't pursued it yet. I just spoke to the owner of Concord Oil yesterday, who was asking about the history and the timing and when the state acquired the property. So I don't know where things stand right now, and we'll have some follow-up discussion, but it's certainly something to continue to consider.
Okay, great, because, you know, might be nice if we could do both sides of the road there and preserve those small houses for sale. So, okay, the house will probably sell before we put this together, but, you know, the league had flagged the Concord oil site, so if the two could be merged, that would be great.
very good. Thanks very much for those updates. I think we've reached public comment. If we have anyone who would like to say anything. All right. Moving along, then we need to schedule the next regular meeting of the trust. And today is the 9th. I don't know if we'd want to meet 2 weeks from today. If that works, that's Tuesday, May 23rd.
I'll be out of the country.
Okay.
We're supposed to hear any numbers for.
Oh, yeah, the number, right. So.
The number for what? Sorry,
The census.
I think the 25th, I thought, no.
Oh, I thought it was the 23rd. No?
Oh, okay, I might be wrong on that, yeah.
So when will you be back, Mike?
I'll be back on June 1st.
June 1st. So let's see.
And I'm out of the country from the 1st to the 8th. I mean, I'm not necessary, but we're getting.
I wonder if we'd want to try to meet. I think I'd like us to meet once before the June 7th roundtable, but that might need to be another day of the week, to which I defer first to Carrie if is there.
Which week are you thinking, Keith?
Again, Mike, you're leaving when?
23rd.
Leaving the 23rd, okay. And returning,
And returning on the 1st.
okay.
Not Monday, the 5th. That's before Rich leaves, I think.
Right, so it looks like
No, I'm gone the 1st to the 7th. So.
Well, we could certainly have our next meeting after the roundtable. I think the roundtable will probably be a busy enough time. If there's some, how about this? Well, let's pick a date. How does Tuesday, June 13th look for people?
Works for me.
Looks good.
Okay, Linda Escobedo was,
Yeah, that's good.
okay, so why don't we pick Tuesday and Carrie?
Yeah,
Okay.
Same
Tuesday,
time.
June 13th at 5 p.m. on Zoom, and if we have something where we need to take a vote, we'll alert, we'll see what we can do to get that scheduled. So very good. And other upcoming meetings on my list, 7 o'clock tonight, in just less than 1 hour, the planning board, CHDC at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning. On Tuesday, May 16th at 7 p.m., the Community Preservation Committee meets on our grant agreement. June 6th at noontime is the Aloha briefing at the State House. And
11 o'clock.
11, okay, 11 a.m. And Wednesday, June 7th at 7 p.m. is the Concord Housing Roundtable, and that will also be on Zoom. So, and then we'll meet on the 13th. So plenty for us to do, plenty of meetings to cover and information to gather. So thank you all for being here. I think we're ready for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion by Mike to adjourn. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Rich. All right, so let's take a roll call vote on that motion. Linda,
Aye, thank you.
thank you. Mike,
Aye. Goodbye, everyone.
Rich,
Aye.
Carrie,
I.
and Keith. So that passes by 5-0. It is 6:03
Have a good
p.m.
trip, Michael.
You too.
Yes, we'll see you when you get back, or we'll see you when I get back too. So thanks all. Thanks
Safe
so much.
travels. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye.
Aye.